Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Skillionaires. And today I have a wonderful guest, Mitch Bittermann. And in case you don't know who is Mitch Bittermann, he is the CEO of CommerCity. And in case you don't know what is CommerCity, it's a free zone in Dubai that has actually some specific directions into a digital ecosystem. Let's actually get to know Mitch Bittermann.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much for having me today.
Mitch, you have the same home country as I am from Germany. We have the same roots. Mm-hmm. And you left 20 years ago, I heard, around Germany and went to many countries. I'm interested to actually find out why you left so long ago and went to many countries. And on top of that, what was the biggest outtake that actually you took to come to Germany? To come to Dubai, yeah.
Didn't know I'm going back. So I think the way how it started was when I was a student. I studied abroad. I studied in India and in Indonesia. And it was not really that it was part of my studies, but I just wanted to explore the countries. And I was always a little bit focused on Asia. So I wanted to see what these countries have to offer. Once I finished my studies, came back to Germany, started working very regularly for Bertelsmann, Avato, Bertelsmann, the old traditional German book club. Mm-hmm. But I was working in the services industry, which is Avato. So we were doing a lot of the supply chain for Microsoft, business process outsourcing, Microsoft, Apple for a lot of the big tech clients. Mm-hmm. And there was an opportunity to basically move to the US and build up call centers. Wow. What do you do in the US? Build up call centers in Canada, in Kitchener, a very nice place in Canada. And I started building up call center because there was an opportunity to get abroad. And back then I was young, obviously, hopefully still I am in a way. But it was just, it just excited me to go somewhere else and just see what the other countries are about. So I did that for around 2 years. And then I had an opportunity with Microsoft, one of my clients, to relocate to Singapore and to run the supply chain and to run some part of their BPO business for Asia. And I spent around 9 years in Singapore, 4 years in Thailand, 2 years in Hong Kong, and Singapore and Thailand. Singapore and Hong Kong was still with Avato, so was in different positions. And then I left the mothership, Bertelsmann, after many years. And I moved to Thailand and I joined a startup and I was always like the supply chain and BPO guy. Yeah. But more and more the world went into e-commerce. And I started with the first client in Avato, but then every time when I wanted to do something else and maybe take the next step in my career, it was like, hey, Mitch, why don't you come home to Gütersloh, to the headquarter, and we see what we do. And that was not my agenda, to be frank, right? And this is how I basically started working for a company called A-Commerce in Thailand. We were helping brands to go online. And one of my clients, which I brought in, one of the brands I brought in was Adidas. And after 4 years, they ended up hiring me. So I was taking care of all the e-commerce for Adidas in the region, based out of Singapore. And then during COVID, we got a little COVID baby. And it was quite far away, obviously. Thank you. It was quite far away from Germany. And parents are getting older. Flying 13 hours was quite a challenge. My wife and I, we looked at each other and we said, like, what to do next? We discussed Germany. We decided not that we don't like it. We love going there for holidays and stuff and visiting family, but we're just too comfortable outside of Germany. And we always heard about the Middle East and opportunities over there. And there was an opening for the Dubai government. That was around 3 years ago. And we said, that's like halfway. So it's like 5-6 hours from Germany, 5-6 hours from Asia, what we love. And we said, like, you know what, let's try it out. And since then, that's almost 4 years back. I'm working now for the Dubai government.
Wow. I mean, that's breathtaking, breathtaking this way. Actually, when you, as a guy who is always for the structure, the supply chain responsible, you are structured and you're looking into processes. And out of these activities that you had in your backpack as an experience, what is actually the main one that you think hit actually to get you to the next level in this government situation? And maybe you can explain us why it is so important for this free zone. And
Yeah. I think one thing which is definitely not bad is saying like, I am a German.
Yeah.
Because there is just certain attributes which you just see typical as a German.
Only Germans
like punctuality. You just called me out on that.
yeah,
Mitch, you're on time. And it's like, I'm German, of course, still.
I'm telling you, yeah.
And the other thing is like structure, having like Excel files and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we're very structured. So that's something I actually think that a lot of the people appreciate on German people. Wherever they work in the world, they're just known for quality. They're known for being punctual. They're known for being structured, right? So that's definitely one. The background of supply chain e-commerce obviously helped because that's a lot of what I'm building right now. But I think the biggest asset, what I can bring to the team and why the team grew quite a lot, and we have around almost 200 nationalities now, more than 100 nationalities in Dubai CommerCity. I'm very open with cultures. And that's maybe because I did not live in Germany for the past 20 years. I traveled a lot. I worked with a lot of different cultures. And even when I said I worked in Thailand, but I also worked in Indonesia, in Philippines, in Malaysia, in a lot of these markets, you meet a lot of different cultures. And applying this today, because half of my team here are locals, and a lot of people, they will come to the UAE, they never met an Emirati. I see them every day because I work together with them. We are government. The other part is foreigners, expats from every walks of life. And I have around 510 companies now in Dubai CommerCity. There is the big MNCs, the big multinational companies like the Coca-Colas, Maseratis, but a lot of startups. And they can come from any country. And I think my role is not so much about, hey, Mitch is very good in supply chains, very good in e-commerce. No, I'm very good in connecting people, building this ecosystem and bringing the people together, being like the glue for what we are building. And I think that's the main role. So a lot of people say, Mitch, I always see you drinking coffee. That's my job. I meet people all day and I just discuss about business opportunities, what can we do together. And this is what drives me. And this is what I really like doing. And I think that helped me a lot to get to where I am right now.
Very good. I remember that we met in exactly one of these events. You have actually
founder event.
Exactly. You have a founder event for founders who want to scale, basically, bring investors and founders together to find each other, to have actually brilliant ideas, not to die because of they are not supported somehow. And I was very astonished actually when you told me, and when I even drove the first time into CommerCity. So myself, I'm coming here since 2016 and permanently I'm here since 2022. To be honest, I have not heard about CommerCity in the first place. And I was like, where I am here.
Yes. And it turned out it's quite nice. Actually,
it is. I was like kind of, wow, if I should have known this before, I found it somewhere else. And I was very eagerly to know what is CommerCity about. Maybe you can line this out a little bit.
So it was around, a couple of years before, obviously it was planned, the whole thing, but we are operational for around 4 years. And it's a free zone. A free zone, for anyone who doesn't know what a free zone is, it's in different countries you have free zone. It's a special economic zone where certain rules apply, in terms of taxes, in terms of freedom to do business, ownership of companies, all that, right? So the first question was, okay, let's bring in Dubai CommerCity, and I'm not sure you're aware, but in the UAE there's more than 40 free zones.
Yes,
more than 40.
Yeah.
And the world might say, it's like, oh, do we really need another one, right? And the first thing what I did when I came, and so taking on the role, the spirit of the free zone, the slogan of the free zone, and that fits to actually what you said, because you have never heard about it. So we were no one 4 years ago. We had to build up this whole brand awareness, going out there, meeting people, make people aware that we are someone. And obviously also resulting in a lot of nice events like the founders and investors event, which we're doing now in October again. Yeah. Hopefully you're joining.
Yes, I am.
And so the first thing what they said is like, you know what? The slogan of the free zone was putting the E into commerce. When I came, and it was 1 year we were operational, there were 30 companies. It's a $1 billion investment. We will have 12 buildings, space for 22,000 people. We are putting the E into commerce. We have 30 companies. And I was like, okay, the UAE on average, less than 10% of the companies are doing e-commerce. So I'm telling the other 90% I don't want you here. Looking at my 30 companies I have, I don't have the luxury. So the first thing was like, okay, this doesn't seem to work. Not the investment paired with the audience, what you have. So that's why we broadened the scope a little bit and said, let's do digital, because digital, every company has a digital process or whatever.
Yes, it does.
The other thing which I realized, and that goes back to my own experience, and I hope you can relate to that, is when I came to Dubai, even I started for the government, there were so many things I have to figure out. Yeah, it's not the first time I'm buying a car, I'm getting a driving license and all of it.
But to do it in the UAE, it's
exactly.
the first time.
It is, exactly. So it was the first time here. Not everyone is super helpful. A lot of things, you're paying a lot of Lehrgeld, like we say in German, right?
We
a lot
have
of extra
Victor
money.
written in front of our head.
Exactly. So one of the things where I said is like, you know what, okay, now imagine you come as a private person. You need a visa, you need housing, you need a car, you need a driving license, you need schooling for your kids, you need health insurance, whatever it is. Okay, now imagine you have a company. What happens then? You not only need a lease and a license. No, you will need so many other things. You probably need a warehouse to store your products or someone who does the fulfillment for you. As a company, you need to do financial auditing once a year. So there's so many more things. And you know what? If you just go somewhere, you have no idea where to go because you're new to the country, right?
Yeah.
And what we said, what I discussed with the team, where we said, like, you know what, we want to be an ecosystem. We want Angela, who has a business, come to our free zone and say, you know what, give me a lease, give me a license. But we don't stop there. The next thing what we do, we say, like, you know what, okay, explain to me a little bit of what you are doing. What's your nature of business? What is your who are your clients, right? Are there any suppliers you're working with? So with all the tenants what we have, we are doing this exercise, and we're basically coming up for not being a landlord but being a partner. And I think that's the key actually, because the most challenging part is in our free zone, maybe less than 10% of the companies are not renewing, which is super low compared to, I don't want to name any other free zones here, but a lot of them are just about numbers. We incorporate 20 companies a month. And I know other free zones or free business setup organizations, they do 1,000 licenses. But this is not what we want. I'd rather do lesser companies and I work with them. Because the biggest challenge you will have, even for your business, when you come to the UAE, is not about setting up a business. It's great, you set up a business, you go home, meet your friends, Stammtisch and whatnot. Hey, I have a company in Dubai now, and everyone is like, woo. And then after 2 years, you close down, but you don't tell anyone. It didn't work. So our feeling was, you know what, we need to help people to build sustainable revenues. We need to help them to get to their clients. We need to help them to find partners. We need to help them to get all kinds of services. So that's the ecosystem we built. And that's why I said most of the time, I'm just not that I don't work. It's work, actually. I'm meeting people and I'm discussing, I'm understanding. Most of the time I spend with my tenants. And then I say, like, you know what, okay, how can we help? What are the challenges? Oh, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that, right? We do every 3 months. I'm inviting all the CEOs from all the different companies, and I'm just introducing them to each other, the new ones and whatnot, in order to create business opportunities. Alone in 2024, we created around 300 business opportunities, which will result in revenue being generated. This revenue being generated, now everyone said, Mitch, why would you do that? I mean, it does not like it helps you. It does, actually, because if they build more revenue, they create more workspaces, I get more visa revenue, they need bigger space, I get more office revenue. So it's just, it's just in waves where it comes in.
Yes, the ripple effect is great.
And I'm thinking this is something, where we said, now we have 500 companies. 500 companies is great, but now we start and say, like, you know what, I have a lot of automotive, I have a lot of technology, I have a lot of logistics companies. Now we can go into actually segments, we can go into sectors and say, you know what are the things, all the mobility, the car manufacturers, whatever, I have BYD, I have Maserati, a lot of these, what do they have in common? How can they work with each other? What are the logistics guys have in common? What about technology, right? So now we're even facing that, and German companies, big topic obviously as well here. We have around 23 German companies now in Dubai CommerCity. My team members even say, like, Mitch, when are we putting up the German flag next to the UAE flag? There is a lot of Germans, but I think this has to do, we're next to the airport, it's prime space, right? But we're also creating the community also for them. We have a bakery, a German bakery, Sven Baker's Kitchen. So Germans get their pretzels if they want. We have a gym, a holistic gym with physiotherapy, with nutritionist, ice bars, everything, right? So for us, it's really like, how do we build a nice community where people like working and not just come there for work and then take off immediately. We want to build something which is more sustainable, and it's almost like more livable space than a free zone.
Very good.
And just one last thing I want to add. I know I have a long monologue, but one of the things, and this is where a lot of people ask me and say like, Mitch, why are you doing this? I mean, why this route, right? But for me, it's like also when people say like, yeah, but you're government. And I was like, you know what, sorry, but I never worked for the government before. I was always a service provider. And a service provider, I try to help my clients.
Wow.
And this is the mindset in a way which I celebrate, where I said, team, you need to look into this. You should help. And whatever you have, you need to be relatable. You need to try to solve issues. And I think my team is amazing. They really adapt to this. And I think that makes a huge difference.
It does. And then you guys, I just wanted to line this up because I'm bringing this to the audience all the time. In all my content is not always about going viral and driving numbers. Scaling is also the part of sustainability, to scale that you can keep your client. Client retention is very good. And I'm very happy to hear your scaling mindset, actually, that you put so much dignity into exactly that and have this as a part of your scaling strategy to keep the clients, not only to drive them.
But retain them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that is actually the whole scaling part is actually super interesting, because a lot of companies, they think about scaling, they think about more sales. But this is more sales, sorry to say, but in the world we're living today, especially when you're in e-commerce space or whatever, social, a lot of things can go viral overnight, right?
Yes.
But one thing you have to consider is everything what you're now triggering on the sales process perspective, 10 times more sales results in 10 times more orders.
Exactly.
That means from a fulfillment perspective, you have to fulfill 10 times of it. It has an effect on manpower, right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of services which a lot of people don't even see, whether it's HR, whether it's finance. Yeah. Everything needs to be scaled and not just the sale piece.
No.
Everything will not just follow suit.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a startup, and I worked for a startup in Bangkok and brought them to many countries, the biggest challenge we had was really like building a management which is scalable. Building a team which is strong, and then start scaling it. Because if the foundation is not strong, you're generating more and more sales, but at the back, the other stuff is just falling apart.
Yeah.
And this always needs to be in I wouldn't say in harmony, but you know what I mean, right? It needs to follow suit in a way, because if not, I always think like about 3 phases of a startup. It's startup, smart up, and scale up. So startup means like you have a great idea, you have a proof of business, whatever, you start. The next thing is smart up. And this is what a lot of people, they think they go directly into the scale up phase, but it's not that.
No.
They need to understand, what are my cost drivers?
Yes.
What is the competition out there? How can I drive my sales? If they don't smarten up, they will never scale up.
Exactly.
This is exactly where the exit point will happen, and it will just fall
they
apart.
scale actually the bad parts with it. If they're scaling the mistakes with it, then if they have not smartened up. Mitch, you told me something very interesting now, that you're meeting every time for coffee with your attendants and with the founders within CommerCity. So tell me a little bit about what you think everybody has in common, what actually either is relevant for scaling or holds them back to scale. What is actually on both of the sides the one problem that they have and the solution that you give them to actually guide them as also a mentor as you are then in that coffee drinking position.
No, absolutely. I think the everything what a lot of them need to have in common, and this is for me a baseline, and to be frank, you would be shocked sometimes, people setting up a business and they did not do any due diligence. There is no proper business plan in place. They're literally saying like, you know what, in Dubai, it's tax-free, that's amazing, let's just come over here, business is gonna fly. They don't even know how long they can sustain without business coming in, right? So I think the biggest problem why a lot of companies are failing is because they don't have a plan. They did not even put together a small business plan in Excel. This is my living cost, this is what I need for this is car, whatever, right? Even this one is not there. And then they're all surprised. And then if they come to you and they have an issue, then it's already too late. Then you can't help them anymore. Yeah. So for us, and this is one why we do also the founders event, we have an investment VC under the government, which is called Oracea Capital. They're funding startups. But they're not only funding, they have something called a sandbox concept. So they basically take startups by the hand, look at their business model and said, you need a CFO. You need someone to look at your numbers, right? So it's more like a program. It is a program anyways. And then, yes, they give financial injection, but at the same time, they give guidance. And I think this is the key. You need money, but you also need guidance. Because I worked in startups before. I'm working with a lot of founders today. There is certain people who can scale the business to a certain level. There is founders who are amazing of setting a business up, but they're maybe not the one you want them to scale, right?
Yeah.
Because the mindset is different.
Exactly.
If you also think about a founder, a lot of the founders, they're like short-lived. They do it for 1-2 years. But now scaling a company can take 10-15 years. The mindset of the person you have in there is someone maybe with a more corporate background, maybe someone who was sticking in there and saw the growth over years and not just had a great idea and said, now let's do it. No?
Yeah.
So that I think is really having a plan of what you're doing. And I'm giving a lot of, I wouldn't say advice. I mean, we even help some companies to do a business plan, but really just to give them, point them in the right direction and said, you know what, just don't go there. A lot of people coming and say like, I need a warehouse of 5,000 square meter. The first thing what I'm asking is,
for what?
Can I please see your calculation, how you came up with the 5,000?
Yes,
Because why would you pay for 4,000 square meter of air if you don't need it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, and even if they say, you know what, office space, the best one, we have 10 square meter all the way to 5,000 square meter. Why would you rent 100 square meter if you only need 10 now? We give you the option to scale. But now occurring all these costs, and then later on, maybe the growth is not coming, and then you have a problem. So this is a lot of things where I'm always saying to people, don't overspend. Dubai, we all know, tax-free, but also not the cheapest, right? When people come over here, rather, in Australia, they say horses for courses. You should not over-invest, right? So you come in, do that what you need right now.
Yeah.
Everything else, we discuss later.
Yeah.
But first do the proof of concept and grow accordingly.
I find a lot of founders, they don't have the capacity of thinking actually in the way of what is money creating. And they have a lot of things to do with the ego. And they want to have this big warehouse. They want to have this big office. But they do not see how they actually park their revenue in those activities. And that leads me actually to the next question that I have. This is in most of my content, actually, that I find founders in my training courses, in my mentorings, that they cannot even receive the scaling idea because their mindset is not able or capable to actually receive this sort of number, this sort of revenue. Did you even see this symptom?
I saw it firsthand because I also work for startups and stuff. But I think the thing is, I was brought into a startup because I have that growth mindset and I have the commercial aspect of it. So I love numbers. You need to love numbers. If you don't love numbers, then it will be very tricky. But I love it. I love sales. I love seeing revenue growth. I like looking at cost, P&L. I love looking at that stuff. Not everyone does, though, right? So, but the thing
I like to do, but I don't like to create the Excel sheet.
I'm even doing that one. That's even I wouldn't say as a hobby, but I like doing that. And but the thing is, you need to understand what your cost drivers are. You need to understand what kind of your decision, what kind of effect it will have on your business. And that's what I meant with a lot of founders. Maybe they are in the starting point. They're amazing. They have that idea. But it is great if you get a person in who has only a business mindset because, sorry to say, but this person doesn't care about the product and about the service. And maybe that's a good thing because this person just looks at how much sale, how much cost, what is below, what is on the bottom line, top line, bottom line, and can give you that. And you know what? This is the information I'm giving you right now. Now use that information, needs to be translated, needs to be collaborated and whatnot, and saying like, okay, if you keep on doing what you're doing, this is how it's going to look like. If we can increase the top line or if we can reduce the cost, this is where we're going to go. But there needs to be this dialogue. I was in Bangkok when I joined that startup, and these there were two brothers who founded a startup, amazing people. And they brought me in, but they also said, Mitch, that's why I hired you. Because even when they did not get it, they said like, that's why we brought you in. We want you to help us to scale. They were amazing. And they're still amazing. This company, they're planning to go IPO next year. So they are an amazing company, but they got it. They said, you know what, let's get someone in. I think you said earlier, one thing is the founders don't have the mindsets. The other thing is also too proud. Where they say like, you know what, I don't want anyone. I'm the one who brought it to 100. Don't tell me how to get it to 1,000.
Too attached emotionally to their product or their service or their story itself.
Exactly. And these guys, they had it figured and they said, you know what, no, we need help and we need someone to bring us there. And I think then if you have that balance, it's amazing.
Often founders don't see and don't commit even to see, they don't realize that they can't see their own shadows and they need need somebody to reflect. And that's where mentors, people like you come in, people that have a service of a growth plan or support for a startup. So that's something very good. And I think that is so essential for a founder to actually go beyond that plateau that you bring your startup or business at such on certain space that you have in the first steps that you do. But in one place, certainly you hit the plateau and you need to have help from outside.
Correct, 100%. 100%. You will need. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about where is actually the goal in the Commerce City free zone, where you wanted to be in maybe 10 years. What is your forecast? Yeah, I know. That's what I always say in Dubai. You can actually achieve in 1 year what you're working 100%. On somewhere else in 3 years. But let's make it maybe 5 to 10 years. What is your idea about Commerce City, where you want it to be?
So I sometimes have to be a little bit careful because I'm forgetting that we are free zone, right? Because in my mindset, we are an ecosystem. I want people to join us. We are an ecosystem, but we have free zone capabilities. You know what I mean?
What you think?
A different selling aspect, no?
Explain a bit about this ecosystem.
I want people I want people to come to Dubai CommerCity. Not because we are free zone and we have, because this is for me commoditized. You have 40 free zones who can do that. It's not like a value. It is still a value add, but it's not like a differentiator. Let's call it that way. If you are an ecosystem, I want people, ecosystems like a family. Angela, if I ask you, you don't like to have a family? No, of course. I want to be part of a family.
Exactly. Everybody wants
to be part of an ecosystem. It's the same like a family. So they want to belong to something, especially in a place like Dubai, where tons of people coming, going. We've seen it every day. And we are building this community ecosystem where people come and they join us. And I want them to join us because we are a nice place to work. We are carrying people. We are connecting people. They have a very good, just a very good surroundings. They like going to work and everything. All the other stuff they get, the tax-free and whatever, and maybe corporate tax, maybe not, whatever. But I want them to come because they have the feeling, hey, I want to be here because I like the environment. I love the people. I want to come here. This is what we need to achieve. If you say now, we are building, so it's a $1 billion investment. We have now 4 buildings ready. The next 2, they've just been handed over to us. We have another 6 coming. 22,000 people, it will be finished by 2028. Knowing my government, I'm part of DS, which is a bigger group, Dubai Integrated Economic Zone. They have a lot of other ventures. So it won't be stopped there. We all know the airport is moving towards DWC, the new airport. There's also some stuff we could do over there. So I think there's still plenty of stuff to do. My personal vision, if you ask me, I would franchise the concept of Dubai CommerCity and build franchises all over the world. I would volunteer to go to Bangkok and build Bangkok CommerCity. But jokes aside, but we had requests from Indonesia, we had from Kenya, from the UK. We had so many requests already where companies say, you know what? Free zones actually came to us and said, this is a very interesting concept, a very nice concept. Now imagine, Angela, if we could build satellite sites of Dubai CommerCity globally, we're all running on one instance. You have the same perks in all the free zones. You can seamlessly set up your business and use the licenses in other countries and whatnot. It could be amazing, right?
Yes.
Whether this is buildable in one day or not, it probably takes a little bit of time because we still have a lot of focus on what's happening in our free zone. But long term, that's something which I think would be amazing.
But CommerCity is based in Dubai, but you have already dépendances in some other countries.
We don't.
Okay.
But there is an interest. That's what I'm saying, right? So we have we have a lot of trade organizations, foreign governments coming to us, scouting Dubai. Dubai is a massive scouting place globally for governments and businesses alike to see, let's see what's happening in Dubai. We have every other week, I have delegation visits, trade organizations coming in and whatnot, right? These guys coming and looking for ideas. And all I'm saying is, it could be a JV between us and a foreign entity, and we could build something in Kazakhstan, wherever it is, and we could build a similar free zone as well, who has the same heart as what we do, the same plans and everything, and build based on the role model of DCC, build it in another country. And I think this would be like growing it here, building this massive, beautiful community, and then spreading it out to the world.
I have spring in my head for getting all these outlinings. I think this is to franchise. I'm a big fan of franchises, and I think this is something because with a franchise, you actually meet a lot of people that are capable of bringing their passion to whatever business or franchise it is. Might it be small, or might it be something as big as a CommerCity, a free zone. You have somebody which actually utilize a structure that's been given that's been proved to work, and that is something so beautiful. And I think that leaves a track in one person's doing actually in such a big dimension. And I feel this is something really I would love to be ever a part of a franchise somehow.
A successful one. Because
exactly.
I think even when you look at the most well-known franchise in the world, McDonald's, right?
I can watch the Founders movie back in
But the thing is really, I mean, how did they become so successful, right? And it was, I think, the McDonald's brothers. They had this coffee shop. I read the book or whatever.
And that is a brilliant example, just to let me bring this in, where the founders were too much actually emotionally attached to the business. And got it taken over by somebody who dived deeper into the strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is what this guy perfectionated as well. He was looking into the processes because he knew if you want to do a global franchisee concept out of it, the processes, the quality, this is the biggest challenge you have. If you are now building a global franchise, a concept, Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever, something which is everywhere, how do you make sure you have the same quality? Not even the same price because that's country specific, but you have the same food quality, you have the same process quality, the same friendliness, the same look and feel when you go inside. Alone, this one is the most challenging part, I feel. But if you get this one right, it's amazing.
It is.
And I think everyone had it. I remember when I studied in India in 2001. That's a long time ago, obviously. I studied in India, and I remember they had I think it was in Delhi, they had a McDonald's. And after being in India for 3-4 months, I went to McDonald's, and I think I had a Maharaja or something like this, some burger. But it just felt like almost like home, right? Where you said, like, you know what, now here I'm sitting, munching a burger and saying, like, you know what, and it just feels so good because you're in a foreign country and everything is like, was so foreign the whole time. And then out of a sudden you get, I wouldn't say because McDonald's not my culture, but in a way it is, because it's also part of growing up, going, when there was a birthday party, being invited to McDonald's. So a lot of the memories you get from what you did. And it was just at that moment, I was like, and it's so amazing. You're eating this burger here and it tastes like almost you could be anywhere in the world, right?
And imagine this feeling copied to a feeling of free zone. Imagine a person who wants to expand or has been founding his business here and wants to expand to somewhere else and they know already and feel the same way as you felt at McDonald's in India.
100%.
That is something good. I think this is something that you would do as a founder, feel so good about leaving a trace, isn't it?
Yes. That I think that's one of the biggest thing. But one thing which I'm thinking is because there's one part is obviously what we are achieving with Dubai CommerCity, and then there's Mitch, right? And from my perspective, because I was employed for startups, service providers, brands, now the government, I was always employed. I was always had my steady one and everything.
How can
always.
it be? You have such an entrepreneurship mindset. How can you be only employed?
I know. Maybe play it safe as a German, right? No, but so I was really doing that for the past, I don't know, 25 years, whatever, how long I'm working. I haven't even calculated. But so one of the things is what I said now as well is like after all this experience and helping to build an e-commerce enabler in Thailand, right, back then, and having so much knowledge about e-commerce, about setting up a business over here and everything, I set up a business together with a friend of mine here in the UAE. And we started just 4 months back. And for the people who want to know, it's smart.ai. It's essentially an e-commerce enabler. We are helping brands to come to the UAE and to sell on a marketplace. That itself is not rocket science. But a lot of brands, why would they not come? They don't have a merchant on record. They don't have an importer on records. They don't know how to register their products. We do all of this for them. And we help them to sell online. And we started this 4 months back. The business went through the roof. It's really doubling, tripling every month, our sales. When we have a very clear timeline, we take a percentage of sales, right? And it's everything else we pass through. So it's a very clean and very honest model, I would say.
Yeah.
We have the back end outsourced to a cheaper country where they also speak Arabic. And now it's taking off like crazy. But for me, it was like at a stage where I'm in my life with 2 kids and working for the government. That's a safe thing to do, right? But at the same time, this is super exciting because it is just moving so fast. It is unknown. It grows. We have this hyper growth. We will have exactly the things which we discussed earlier. How do you scale that whole thing? How do you finance it? Now I'm talking to our investment fund about the company we're building on the side. I have some of my tenants who want to sell on my platform now, their products. I have warehouse logistics provider who want to do fulfillment from us, right?
That only speaks for you
exactly.
as a
So
person.
the whole ecosystem, right, comes together again. And this is something where I'm very excited about because for me, to be honest, I'm an entrepreneur light in this case because I'm giving a lot of the expertise and I'm a board advisor to the company because I built it in the past. But I'm not quitting my job and I don't want. I'm just very excited to see where this one goes, right? And other than that, I think DCC, Dubai CommerCity, will keep me busy for the next years to come because there's just so many things we want to do still. And to give you a glimpse, we have now AI is very big, obviously. So we have now we will have so not an investment fund, but we have an investment fund from the US. They're coming in. They want to bring in 20 AI companies in 1 year. We want to build a workbench for AI, right? To really get that started. If you ask me what the future will bring, AI, we all know.
Yes.
So that's one, right? The investor and founder event. Now we're building an app because I have 500 companies. Under these 500 companies, 6,000 employees. Yeah. How do we connect all of them? So now we are developing an app with TikTok function and all the tenants, all the employees can speak to each other. So we will come up with an app, and that also means all our German bakery, our gym and everything, they can promote their services to these 6,000 people. Then we started now to partner, to offer a partnership program for external companies who want to get access to our tenant base, who want to promote, they want to be invited to our events like the Gulf Founders event. Yep. So we are now building this and there's so many other ways what we can do. We are 4 years old, there's still the start. There's still a lot of things we haven't even started yet, basically. Yeah.
I'm actually blown away because this is something that you line out that you are an employee per se by the government, but you are having so much entrepreneur mindset, and one of the few people that I know that are actually scaling, being employed, having your entrepreneurship and your own business next to it and scaling this in the same and similar way. And you guys, this is something that's really a scaling mindset. And Mitch, let me know what you would think actually to give people who are starting to scale or trying actually to scale but reaching a plateau. What is the most important thing that they have to look after, and what is it about the scaling process basically?
I think one of the most important parts is first of all you have to admit to yourself that you need someone externally to help you.
So put the ego aside, you say.
Exactly, put the ego aside and saying like, you know what, okay. We say the same now with our business. When it grows, the first thing what we're saying like, you know what, before it was okay when Mitch does the calculation. Now let's get a finance guy in, someone who has learned it, right? You just need to admit it. And to be frank, a very good example is if you look at Microsoft, if you look at Apple, if you call any Microsoft call center in the world, there is never Microsoft picking up the phone.
Never.
If you ever receive a mobile phone from Apple, it never comes from an Apple warehouse. This is all outsourced. Why? Because the most successful companies in this world, they focus on their product and on the marketing piece of it. They don't focus on the commoditized services such as fulfillment, last mile, whatever. No, they outsource because there are people in that industry who are trying to solve it for 100 years. Why would you start now becoming a logistics company as a Microsoft or as an Apple, right? I think the same applies to you. If you're setting up a company and you go to the next level, I see so many companies, they have a product and I don't know why, and I'm okay, do the fulfillment out of your second bedroom or whatever, or out of your garage until a certain level, but don't go now all in and said, you know what, now I need to rent a warehouse. I need to hire my own people and whatnot. There's so many players out there. Once you start scaling, it makes sense. Unless you want to become a logistics company, but don't lose focus of what's important.
Exactly.
And I think especially when we talk about scaling is all about focusing on the core, what you want to do, making sure you have the best product and service you can offer to the market. Have a look what the competition is doing, how to position your product and everything. All the other stuff, outsource if you can, right? And I know sometimes it's tricky and you pay a little bit more, but you know what? The supply chain piece, for instance, you probably end up paying a little bit more in the beginning, but you know what? You will not go through the pain. You will not spend hours and hours looking at logistics processes because someone else got it covered. And you focus on your product. Yeah. You focus on selling more, right?
Exactly.
So I think this is something where people just need to maybe distinguish what is core and what is a value add, what is something which is an auxiliary service or whatever. Yeah. This is something which can be outsourced. Yeah. And this is a mindset I think the Americans, they have it very well done over the years.
Also, they make quick decisions on it.
Exactly. Yeah. They are the kings of outsourcing. They do that since many years. And I think Europe as well, but here even in the Middle East and in Asia, it took a while to change the mindset. And I still believe a lot of people think, no, I start now, I can do that myself. And yes, they probably can do it to 10 orders, maybe 50 orders. But once you get 100 orders out of your bedroom, it becomes tricky, right? So then you need to look at the next level of growth and don't think about, hey, I'm smart. I know I've seen a warehouse before. I know how to do it. No, you don't. Just go there and say, you know what, look for professional help and do it. And I think especially the financial, because a lot of scaling has to do with your run rate. How much are you burning money? And I think this is also I would come up with different scenarios because it's never a straight line. There will always be, you know what, we all know the biggest disruptor globally for e-commerce was COVID. Yeah. When COVID hit, right, all e-commerce globally, and COVID was 2 years, but it accelerated e-commerce globally by 10 years. Yeah. So 10 years, just a jump by 10 years in terms of volume.
Yeah, you have to digest this in the first stage.
Exactly. So first of all, amazing for e-commerce players, tons of fulfillment and everything. I worked with Adidas. Don't ask, it was havoc in the warehouse because we, out of our B2B warehouses where we used to deliver to the retail stores, we had out of a sudden gazillions of e-commerce orders, and we did not have people to do the piece picks, right? So that was but then the other thing is other industries will suffer from that. Yeah. So I think coming up with the best case, worst case, and medium case scenario makes more sense. And based on this, having some discussion and say like, okay, how can I support each and every phase of this? Because it could go into different ways, right? And I think a lot of companies, once they reach out to investors, not all of them, but a lot of them, they're trying to do it themselves. And then when they go to the investors, they're already so short with money. It's about, you know what, either I get money tomorrow or I can shut down. And this puts in a very weak position for negotiations as well. No?
That's what I see all the time, that founders are going to search for investors when they are really low in cash flow and where they are in such a needy position. Yep. That you will not get anything actually in a fulfilled or abundant situation. You cannot negotiate anything like that. To come out of a position of contraction is just not good to do. Yeah,
absolutely. With the back to the wall. No? I mean, what are you going to do? You can just be happy if someone throws you a bone and you can still survive. No? So agree. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing so much insights. Where we do find you, where the audience finds you, actually, just give us some hints and how they can get in contact. We certainly put everything in the show notes and in the info box.
So you obviously have my WhatsApp number, so they can get to you to get to me. Yeah. Okay. No, please not everyone. It's funny enough. Yeah. It's sometimes I even have a rule when I look at my phone. If I don't know the number, I'm not going to pick up because there's just too many people who have my number. Yes. I mean, I have a lot of tenants and whatnot. So I think the best way is really like via email, which you can distribute to them, no problem. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I have a very big followership because I'm doing a lot of things. If people want to know what's happening in Dubai CommerCity, go on LinkedIn, go to Mitch, follow me. I'll post at least guaranteed twice, more like 5 times a week, just about everything that happens. And where you find us in general, there's Terminal 3, where Emirates Airlines is landing, and in Dubai Airport, and we are 5 minutes walk away from that. And it's an amazing place. So whoever wants to come, they can join me for a coffee.
Good. I definitely take this invitation.
Good. I know you will.
So thank you and have a good time. And wait until the next episode comes from the Skillionaire with stories that stick and strategies that scale.